the other angle. Have frequent flyer miles quietly become worth a whole lot less than they used to be? Everywhere you go, guys, you see the ads for credit card. Earn 30,000 miles by signing up today. Sounds like a lot, 30,000 miles. And I think it used to be, but now many airlines are charging more than that just to go one-way coach. I was just looking at some examples right now. I'm not picking on one airline. August 11th flight, 12:05 p.m. Delta, Atlanta to Seattle, 32,500 miles each way. Coach. American wants 30,000 miles for a level 2 anytime coach fare, whatever that means. United wants a 50,000-mile coach round trip from Newark to LAX, and that's just the starting point. You can get up to 100, 200,000 miles economy just going to Europe. There are some super saver fares, but let's get into this because it ticks a lot of people off, including this guy.
You're ticked off.
This whole idea with Seth Kaplan was my segment because I've been trying to book a flight, and I got so ticked about it that I said, let's do a segment on it. Phil LeBeau joining us now as well. Seth, is it literally, to quote the Temptations, just my imagination, or have miles become worthless?
Well, not worthless, but they become worth a whole lot less. And look, this is just a predictable outcome of having an industry that is less competitive than it once was. Still a competitive industry, but whereas, at one point you had, a dozen airlines sometimes chasing the same business in this country. A highly fragmented industry. It was great for consumers. Drove the airlines, of course, into bankruptcy. Then they did all the things we know that they've done over the past bunch of years. Of course, consolidated, charging all the extra fees. And part of it is they don't have to bribe us, quite as much to fly them anymore. Delta doesn't have to bribe us to fly Delta instead of Northwest because Delta and Northwest are the same airline.
Are they throwing? Michelle made an excellent point in our sort of morning meeting about how they can kind of print their own money, so to speak, Seth. Are they luring us in with promises of more miles, but then jacking up the mileage requirements everywhere you go so that the miles they so gleefully give you with every credit card you sign up for actually don't get you anywhere?
Well, to a point, yes. But the same thing, Brian, is actually kind of the good news for consumers, that to a point this polices itself. And I'll tell you why. Those programs, the loyalty programs, began really as a cost center 35 years ago. Americans started it as a way to keep people on the airline. They turned into massive profit centers in their own right. And the reason for that is that all those miles you get from the credit cards or from staying at a hotel, sending flowers, whatever, those companies are buying those miles, and I'm talking billions of dollars worth of miles to give to you. So airlines, although they don't need to be as generous as they once were to get you to fly them because the industry is less competitive, they can't have you think the program's worthless. Because if you cut up that credit card or if you stop caring about accumulating those miles in all those other ways, that's billions of dollars in revenue that's at risk. So it kind of takes care of itself to a point.
Phil, to the extent that I follow this, my sense is that that you now get miles less based on distance flown and more based on money spent. Am I right about that?
Yes. Generally speaking, almost all of the airlines have transitioned to that model.
Mm-hmm. And what does that mean?
And are you suggesting that's the bad model?
No, I'm not suggesting anything. And oh, by the way, I mean, these miles to me are not an entitlement. I mean, I happen to like them, but they're not an entitlement to me.
Look, this is the
Though
airline
we've come to think of them as if they were.
Right, and that's absurd. I mean, I hear this all the time from friends and neighbors saying, I wanted to go somewhere, and it's too many miles. Well, you weren't guaranteed that you were going to have a seat waiting for you. The airlines are in the business to make money, and that means they don't want to give away too many seats for frequent flyers. That's just the reality of it. They're in the business to sell a seat, not to give it away,
and
which is ultimately
I want to be
what
clear,
you're doing.
Phil. I'm not suggesting that they should give them away, and I'm certainly not suggesting these are entitlements. All I'm trying to do with this segment, and maybe Seth can jump in here, is just sort of, hey, put our audience on notice that maybe some of these, quote, great offers they're trying to be given aren't as great as they seem.
The currency has been devalued.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
As usual,
the currency has been devalued.
Better way to say it, Matheson.
But I also think, Brian, that most people who do a lot of flying, and I hear this, I fly a lot, and when I talk to other travelers, business travelers, almost all of them say the same thing, which is, I understand that I am not going to have as many points or as many miles racked up and to be able to use. It costs more.
Get back to that point, Seth, that you were making earlier, and that is about the concentration of the airline business. I read something last week, and I think it's that 80% of the airline seats in this country are controlled by 4 airlines. That has a lot to do with this.
Well, it does. And all that it has become is more like other industries. Okay, I mean, the old system was unsustainable. Again, it was great for consumers when you could, fly on below-cost airline tickets and get upgraded all the time and those kinds of things. But it drove most of the airlines in this country into bankruptcy. So there had to be some kind of an equilibrium where they could, pay their bills. They could. Pay their employees and all the other things that they need to do and return something to their shareholders, but still have it be a decent proposition for the consumer. And, on balance, I mean, look, yeah, you got 4 major airlines chasing 80% of the business, just like most of us have 3 or 4, cable or satellite TV providers to choose from, 3 or 4 supermarkets. It's just more like other industries now. Here's
the final, Brian, here's the final thing. Don't try to get a free ticket. Just use them for upgrades. So buy an economy class ticket, and then you use some, and then you can fly business class.
I'm not even worried about that. I'm just saying that I think our audience is getting hoodwinked. Here's an offer for 75,000 Hilton Honors points. If you spend $2 grand on a credit card in the first 3 months after opening, we'll go after the hotel industry.
Yeah.
Right,
Good
Tyler?
to see you, Seth and Phil. Thank you.
No, there's a lot of those things that you have to spend the money early on the credit card.
I'm not complaining about it. I just hope maybe call some attention to the issue, which people getting hoodwinked, opening up credit cards, and then realizing they can't go anywhere.
They'll be writing you. All right, Clinton and the rise.
My card just got cut off.